Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, and welcome to Dreamy Dreamland. And we're back. Uh, are you free? Uh, uh, well, I live like a millionaire on $400 a month. And that's fine unless there's, got a car fix, got to go to see the doctors. And how I normally is conscious, intent, unconditional love. I am conscious, intent, unconditional love. I am. And what does that mean? It means I don't try. I do my best to keep God's love in co-creation. Like that's what God's love is: co-creation, me and God, and everybody else. And God hates ego, right? So, ooh, ooh, ting tang walla bing bang, ting tang walla ball bang. Ooh, ting tang, walla, bing bang. Ting tang, walla, bang bang. I saw the witch doctor. He told me what to say. Boom, boom, boom. I saw the doctor. Told me what to say. He said, ting tang, walla, bing bang. Ting tang, walla, bing bang. Oh, bing bang. Ting tang, walla, bing bang. So, here we are, 2 minutes and 22 seconds. And come on. I beg you. Money, 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 money. I beg you. Money, 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 money. Send it to PayPal, whatever you can afford, as a gift to the Dude Awake 42 at Gmail. Dude Awake 42 at Gmail. Dude Awake 42 at Gmail. And so I went to church. I first spoke to you guys earlier this morning, about an hour and a half ago. And I went to church, and they're still talking about Exodus. And Exodus is important because it's a microcosm of what we're going through. That's basically what it is. And, the burning bush told Moses, hey, go save our. See, you have to realize Israel's, again, the microcosm of humanity. I mean, it all came from Adam and Eve, right? That's what the book says, right? Right? And Noah, they all kind of came from him too, because God was pissed and killed everything, except every animal 2 by 2. Anyway, it's always fun to read the Bible and to go to church and be in fellowship. So today's fellowship is very small. Usually there's maybe 20 people there. There's maybe more like 10, the usual suspects. But it was this one couple and dad and mom and 2 kids, twins. One looks like it somehow got covered in gasoline and set ablaze because half of it is like burnt plastic. The other half looks just like the other one. Right? It's very. And the family energetically is getting along as best as it can. And the one twin that's still perfect is sympathetic to its other twin that is now half plastic child. Kind of like, when you were a kid and your plastic armored soldiers would be lit afire by gasoline and they'd melt. Yeah, it's kind of what that little kid looked like. Either was, and I think it's a boy. I'm not quite sure, but Anyway, so energetically, the other people were kind of right, and the guy teaching the class, the guy just does it to show us that he's can read the crib notes, right? We're given a one of these things. Now, I don't think it's bad, but to run your whole friggin' life on one of these things, it's when we were in grammar school and Catholic school, this is kind of what we were given, right? And other things like anyway. What's the other one? Here it is. Is it? Yes. Open windows, right? That's not bad. It's all Bible. Let's see. Let's see what it has for June. Friday, Saturday, 4th. Here we go. Sunday, June 4th. Megan King. There's a bunch of names. When you pray. Oh, this is a prayer list for people. Oh, I wonder if they sell it. It's kind of like Google, right? It gets all your information and gives it to advertisers. I'm sure that's what this is, because it's just a list of names that you're supposed to pray for. And I got people more close to home to pray for. Right? And anybody who, and see, I'm better than that book. Right? If you get me a hold of me at the Dude Awake 42 at Gmail, you don't even have to give me money. And I've had 100 people get a hold of me who were like on the edge of killing themselves, right? And they got a hold of me, right? And from that point on, I've had a relationship that we would talk. I, as the griot, tells the story, listens actively to what they have to say, and tells that story to fit in. It's like when we do, hey, James, so many see you catching flies in the last vid. You look like someone with Alzheimer's. No money here, just love. I know. And that. See, I'm not in distress. I'm living like a millionaire on $400. Just that I need to fix my car, and the front end. And I live in a place that has, I live in Sawtooth Mountain Range, and my one county road does this. And every they're bringing in the fiber optic lines, and they're sticking on the old crappy poles. And each one, that fiber optic line is putting about 600 pounds of pressure pulling that pole. So those things snap. So they haven't even finished putting the fiber optic line in. And 6 of the poles have snapped. And 2 have skewered cars. Lucky people, rich people too. People in Mercedes and Teslas, right? And a tractor trailer. And we never, I mean, that road was designed to handle like 300 cars a week. It now has 300 cars an hour, right? And tractor trailers. It was not designed for tractor trailers. So when I first got here 20 years, there were no guardrails. Now there's guardrails, right? And they are crashed through every week. So it's, and my power comes from an old farmers, the farmer lines were the poles with one wire on it, right? On the county road, they have 3-phase because they, about 8 years ago, they said, the cockroaches are coming. We should put appropriate utilities in. So they did. You do live like a millionaire, top 5% of the world's population, pretty much on $400, right? That's because I do not buy anything I don't need. But when the thing like you need to replace your whole front end and that's $3,000, or you're gonna die because it's a road that I travel on, right? But So I do the speed limit. The speed limit is 35 and 45. And the people who've gotten those accidents obviously were doing 60 because they don't know the road. So they come down this hill, and they don't know there's a 90-degree hairpin turn at the end of that hill. Tractor trailers too. Ooh, baby. So anyway, Jimmy Dore, I found him 2 years ago, or like kind of when he first started showing, and he's an interesting guy. I like him, so I'm going to play this for you.
When they got that contract, the British national governance system, this super bank particularly was this supranational system, as you said. It sounds tinfoil hat stuff, but it's Africa, that which was created comparisons of truth.
You don't want to play that. How interesting. Okay, this is about as good as we're going to get.
The investors, the corporations, the people that are being.
I want to go to the beginning. So this guy is talking about the economic system and how it's been a set game for okay. Just enjoy this. You missed the first setup of 30 seconds.
National governance system, which went above the heads of national governments, which were increasingly falling into the hands of liberation governments, liberation movements. So they created this supranational system, as you said. It sounds tinfoil hat stuff, but it's all there in black and white.
Is that Five Eyes or something?
Well, this is more the World Bank. So the World Bank particularly was about, which was created at Bretton Woods in New Hampshire in 1944, was about creating a mechanism through which corporations and investors could enforce their on the world when formal empire collapsed. And there's many mechanisms. The book opens, I'll finish with this, with one specific system, which is called Investor State Dispute Settlement, ISDS, which sounds boring, but what it is a shadow legal system through which multinational corporations sue governments all around the world for enacting policies they don't like. That could be not granting them an environmental permit to dig for gold. It could be raising the minimum wage. It could be doing anything that we think of as acting as acting for a civilized society. Corporations don't like that. They can take you to this body at the World Bank called ICSID. Sorry, there's a lot of acronyms in this, and they can sue you. And this has seen the transfer of billions of dollars from some of the poorest countries in the world to some of the richest corporations. And it also has a regulatory and policy making chill effect, because countries all around the world now, their internal deliberations when they're thinking about doing certain policies or in the interests of their people, they're worried about, are we going to get hit with one of these suits by one of these multinational corporations and get sued for billions? So that's just one example.
So what he's talking about, Kurt, is, let's say, for instance, the state of Washington says you can't bring a single hold oil tanker into our harbors. You have to have double hold, right, for safety. Well, now Exxon or British Petroleum or anybody could sue in this court that he's talking about and saying that you're screwing over our way to make money, and they'll win.
I thought, remember the TPP?
It's part of that stuff.
So was this before that even, and it was already there?
It's already
been there. Happen because the TPP.
No, it already did.
No, it was already there. But this system is enshrined in free trade agreements, and free trade agreements is a misnomer. Free trade agreements, a small part of them is about trade. What they're about is enshrining a legal system which allows corporations to enforce their will. ISDS, or this multinational corporations being able to sue national governments, is part of it. But there's many other legal mechanisms embedded in these free trade agreements. And they're bilateral investment treaties. There's this web of treaties, agreements across the world that enshrine this mechanism and many others through which corporations render democracy effectively meaningless.
And so, exactly right. It takes democracy away from the people. It takes your favorite word. It takes sovereignty away from the people.
Do I have to find Jesus?
That's what it does.
This is by design as well. This is by design. It's not a mistake. They talk about.
I believe that.
In the after, I don't know if you know, you guys know about in Iran the coup in 1953 when the Iranian Democratic Prime Minister
Mossadegh
nationalized the Anglo-Iranian oil company. You're not allowed to do that. No, you can't take control of your own resources. The CIA and MI6 in a joint operation took out the Democratic Prime Minister of Iran. It's never been a democracy again. The year after, the CIA, at the behest of United Fruit, took out the Democratic President of Guatemala because he wanted to redistribute a little bit of fallow land to the poor peasants. You're not allowed to do that either. 1956, Nasser in Egypt nationalizes the Suez Canal. France, Israel, and Britain invade. You're not allowed to do that either. You can't take control. So in the aftermath of all that, they set up these systems whereby you didn't have to go hard like that. You could just make it so there was what Thomas Friedman calls a golden straitjacket. You can't move. He called it a golden straitjacket. It's obviously not golden, but that straitjacket is imposed on all developing world countries effectively, and it's very hard to escape. That means you follow the Washington line, you follow the corporate line, or you find out what will happen.
And it's just.
And that's exactly what's happening in Iraq. So the one guy who was democratically elected was basically, I don't know if they killed him, but thrown out. The Sultan, was put in, and then when he was overthrown, because the people couldn't take it anymore, they put the Doa, who was our boy. We paid all his bills, and he stayed in Paris for 20 years. Well, the Iranian Tsar, Sultan, King, whatever you want to call him, basically pumped the oil out for the Europeans, and as the first female Secretary of State under Bill Clinton once said when we were, when they were about to go into Iraq, because we put Satan in Iraq, and he was just a lieutenant or a captain or something, and we, CIA, backed him, and he was our, and he went to April Glaspie and because Kuwait used to be part of Iraq, and in the 50s it was made into Kuwait, and basically BP's and Shell's little private oil nest, and Satan went in and took his own oil back. Now, there's a thing called slant drilling, which gives us fracking. Later on, after we started the war again, we put, the English did, BP took over the most richest section of the oil in Iraq, put its army there, and didn't fight any more than just to protect it, and started using slant drilling to go after the oil in Kuwait. And we'll go back to Jimmy and his guest.
Corporate line, or you find out what will happen.
And it's just, and if you don't follow the corporate line, the United States says that you're oppressing your people, you're a dictator, and we have to bring some liberty to your country. And so when I found out that Venezuela, which we couped twice already in the last 20 years, when I found out that Venezuela had more oil than Saudi Arabia, I knew it was just a matter of time before we had to bring their people some democracy. And
we wouldn't do that just for oil.
What's all our oil doing underneath your land, you sons of bitches? And so that's what's going on. That's why they say Maduro's a dictator and all that stuff. And that's what they've always done, right?
Yeah, right.
And so that's what you're talking about in this book, right?
Yeah, and it's what's happening now in Mexico with AMLO. He nationalized the lithium industry in Mexico, and literally, as night follows day, the corporate media in the United States, David Frum in Atlantic and loads of other articles, immediately said AMLO is a dictator. It was instant after. And
I saw it.
Yes.
On YouTube.
The empire activates their media assets because they have a new target. And a targets are people who want to take control of their resources and use those resources for the people who sit on top of them. That is the red line for the empire. You are not allowed to use your resources. Those resources are for multinational corporations and they're for the 1% in the West.
So Gaddafi met a similar fate. Gaddafi had the most successful country on the continent of Africa. Everybody had healthcare, everybody had housing, everybody had education, everybody had everything. And he wanted to start his own dollar. He wanted to get off the U.S. back, or he wanted to start a currency for Africa. And you can't do that.
Thank God we got him.
And they got him. And that they said he was oppressing his people and he was going to kill all these people in his own country, and so we had to go free him. What we did was we handed the country over to terrorists, and now they have open slave markets, and it's a failed state.
You're welcome.
And you're welcome.
To the Mexico thing, the way I just started seeing videos pop up about, hey, we might have to go send in troops to deal with these cartels. These cartels are really bad.
Yeah.
I got suspicious when they suddenly cared deeply about some Americans who were killed who were black.
Right.
Getting a Brazilian butt lift. That's the most the government's ever cared about some black people.
Yeah, I know.
Like, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I did a story recently for Declassified, actually, on the 20th anniversary of the war in Iraq, where I went through the annual reports of BP, British Petroleum, to find out how much Iraqi oil they'd extracted after the British invasion. It was £15 billion worth of Iraqi oil. They got interest in the largest oil field in Iraq called Rumaila near Basra, which was when they got that contract, the British Army was actually literally occupying the area where the oil field was. So it was a very literal form of imperialism, you know, and that's how the world runs. It's all about resources. All the rest of it is all PR for the pros, you know, and that another part of the book is about the aid industry, what is called the aid industry, where we're told foreign aid budget is about transfer of wealth to the poor. It's all rubbish. It's all about enshrining this corporate system, and it's all about greasing the entry of corporations into the developing world.
And that is fascism. When we have capitalism, what we have is corporate socialism. When we have communism, we have state capitalism. And fascism is when the ruling class, not the corporation, well, within the front, the cut out, who had imperialism, right? Same guys. And today's class in church was about, part of the Bible where the burning bush tells Moses to go get our people out of Egypt, save our people. Save is the word, right? Save from slavery. And the slavery that they were talking about was Egyptians' crass materialism. That was their god, crass materialism, such as it is today in the Western world, crass materialism. And when, Moron Boy, the two Vlads, Russian, Pooty Boy talks about, Nazis and crass materialism of the West. He's right, but he's also just a shill for that, So, he's like why he got along with Carrot Head is because they're both the same. Lying bags of Mierda, basically, you just listen to either of them and turn whatever they say 180 degrees, and you're looking more at what's kind of going on. So, 24 minutes and 24 seconds, and how I love it when it happens. Hey, I'm begging you to send some money, just anything, just so I can, no one has sent anything since 2 weeks before Thanksgiving. Be nice to know whether, it seems like it still works. I check it out. It still says I have an account, blah, blah, blah. Remember, the Dude Awake 42 at Gmail. Dude Awake 42 at Gmail. So now we're going to see if a few people are on the phone. Do.
So yeah, you got a little bit of a mess under there. I mean, most of the ducks look like they're in pretty good shape. It's just that there's 3 of them that are opposite planet Mars. Yeah. Well, that's why you're right. It's when they're pulling all them out. You're looking at
Let's see if Magic Man answers the phone. Ugh. Hey, Magic Man.
How was church?
Oh, it was interesting. You know, they were talking about what's the part of the Bible when they're breaking the Jews out of the Egyptian jail of materialism?
I would assume you're referring to Exodus.
Exodus, yes. Exorcism, yes. Exodus.
Oh,
And
there-
so they went on and on and on about how, Moses, Israel was, the tribe of Israel. It's like 3 million people out in the desert, and he's supposed to administrate it, blah, blah, blah. And they got into the nitty gritty of what the Bible said about the administration. And they were trying to make metaphors towards our own politics. If we only had a president like Moses, and then if we only had righteous men, like the 70 that administered Israel out there in the desert, right? And I said, excuse me, that's not what this is about. Burning Bush sent Moses to break Israel, not out of, Israel wasn't slaves cleaning toilets. They were middle managers. They were addicted to the Egyptian god of gold. And God wanted, he didn't want to whack his own people. So he sent Moses to break them out. And then they have to walk on through the mud puddle that was left for them across the Red Sea. They were out there in the desert for 40 years because they had to basically get their act together. And it took 40 years. Well, God was always, giving them breakfast, lunch, and dinner, but they had to get to a place where they could be righteous. And they really weren't. So God basically said, oh, fine. Okay, Moses, you're about 120, so you're going to die. But we're going to have you go up in the mountains where no one knows you, God. And they pray to you. And they'd spray gold all over you. So, no. And so, anyway, that's what I basically said. And I said, guys, you're getting way lost in the weeds, because it's God is unconditional love, Jesus unconditional forgiveness. All we have to do is not try, but consciously intent to unconditionally love, consciously intent to unconditionally forgive. We do that, we'll be fine. And we don't need Moses. We can be each other's example, help each other. And in front of me was a couple that had twins. And they were both beautiful, but one of them looked like he was dipped in kerosene and set on fire, because one whole side of his body was like a melted Gumby. He didn't have any fingers. He just had a stump as a hand. His whole face, his eye, his nose, his chin, his mouth, his hair was all, and the scars on his neck were, and yet they were a loving family. And that one wasn't crying and whining and wanting attention. And the other one, who was perfect, because and the other half of the burnt kid looked exactly like the other one. So that's why I knew it was twins. And they were very supportive and let them sit next to each other. And they were each leaning on mom and dad. And then they'd switch. And I got up and said, God bless you. You are the lucky family. And they looked at me, and they because they always get people's sympathy, never empathy. And when they heard what I said, you're doing a great job. You are a lucky family. The woman she had a little tear roll down her cheek, and she smiled, and the father smiled and said, thank you. And most people wouldn't even know what I was talking about. And That was Church Today. And that's, again, another microcosm of that's what Israel is. It's a microcosm of the world, the Israel of that time, of Exodus, right? And because it was populated by lots of people. So.
There's an interesting book and film called The Moses Code.
Mm-hmm.
You might find that interesting. I think I may have mentioned it to you before.
Moses Code, okay.
It basically, it said that the Moses Code simply is a comma.
Simply a what?
A comma.
A comment.
A comma.
Comma. Like a
comma,
like a graph.
Punctuation mark, question mark, exclamation point, comma. It's a comma.
Right.
Instead of I am that I am, it's I am, comma. I am.
Okay, gotcha.
Because there's a comma. This is the theory that they proposed.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the God saying I am that I am, that in and of itself is the God. It's that everything is everything. So, and they go on in this video. It's pretty interesting. They talk about, some of the exercises you can do is you just walk around and whatever you see. If you see a baby, I am that. I am. Just, because you are that baby. Oneness. It's like Merton touched on that stuff, It's all the same. And I always appreciated that. It's a really good movie. And I guess when you go towards what you talked about, empathy, yeah, that is the oneness, because it's I'm sure when you were practicing double Dr. Shrinky Man, you probably were taught or understood through your own experience that sympathy is a horrible thing to do to somebody. To have sympathy for.
Yeah, sympathy
sympathy is completely fucking useless.
Yeah.
Empathy, however, yes, because you put yourself in their place, of whoever the individual is, and you identify with them, and you heal with them, and you can heal through them, heal each other. Jesus talked about that. Now, he may have transcended and been able to physically heal, and we can do that. But on just a psychological level, empathy is the healing principle between human beings.
And sympathy is the
where sympathy is it's the ego. It's like that. I like what Jordan Peterson says regarding that. I agree. He said, just because you feel bad about somebody doesn't make you virtuous. And we got a lot of virtue signaling, like, "Oh, I'm so sorry, your child got burned." Like, then they walk off and don't give a fuck.
Right.
Because they didn't give a fuck in the first place. It's an uncomfortability of seeing a disfigured child.
Yep.
How do I get out of this uncomfortability? Because it's all about me.
Right.
So I'll say some nice things.
Well, and they're not even nice.
And they're not nice because the intention is garbage.
Right.
The intention is total garbage. It's completely disingenuous. But we live in, this is the fucked up conditioning that we hope to break out of before, our lives are over. So, and I'm grateful that I have been taught a lot of these things over the past 16 years.
Well, your trials and tribulations have been a gift for you to, because you would have just mumbled through life,
correct.
Middle class slob.
Yeah, exactly. And that's all cool, well and good, but to be perfectly honest with you, I hate revisiting that with you every time we talk. It's something I choose to
you're moving forward.
Not disregard, but I would like to frame it as when a person gets knocked out of frame, whatever it may be, whether it's trauma induced, whatever, you see things more clearly.
Right.
And I am grateful for that.
And that's the other thing. I don't know if you did catch my early show, right? And I showed the bald guy, in England?
I was futzing with my phone, so I wasn't really paying.
Right. But anyway,
that
I'm
much
showing
attention.
him. He's an interesting guy because he looks like some posh dude. He fits a certain English category, speaks posh, he dresses
Right.
posh, lives in a posh place. And, you know, he's on what is known as a barge boat. In England, people take vacations, they rent these long barge boats. Back in the day before trains, England became an imperial power by being able to have industry and move this stuff around by these these waterways.
England is also known for a lot of canals.
Right, canals. That's what I'm talking
about. A lot of the folks, and some people, you know, they more like the weird eccentric types, but used to, you know, they'd have a little canal boat.
Right, instead of the house by the beach.
They live in.
Right,
you know?
right.
There's still folks who do that.
Oh, no,
but
a lot of folks.
That harkens back to like old Victorian
old money.
England.
Old money.
You know, and that was but also common folk kind of got.
Well, they didn't have the big, but what it's now is like Airbnb. It's like Airbnb. There are thousands of these old.
I saw canal boats. I saw canal boats when I was over there as a little kid in 1980, because my mother is from Stoke-on-Trent in Manchester. And it's like that movie.
So your mother
Monty
was
Python.
English?
Yes.
She born and bred?
My mother was born and raised in the UK.
And how did she meet
very
Dad?
Much alive. Came to the United States in 1964. She became a sort of a nursing aide as
a gig
in a nursing home.
Right.
And another English woman that she met who did that job, she had a boyfriend named Chuck, and Chuck was my father's drinking buddy. Okay. So that's how they met my dad. How my mother met my father. And
So anyway, the bald guy with the glasses he's taking a little break from doing his shows from his posh house, right? And he was saying it's important that you get a break because this guy is right on. He's talking about everything that's happening right in front of us, the 15-minute cities, the total AI of everything. DC, digital currency, your face being the money, and you being the resource, and they'll use you up. So he talks about some pretty intense stuff, but he's this mildly posh guy. So he's on a canal boat, and he's discussing, the last 3 shows, his day, and it's beautiful. And England is having a beautiful sunny period right now, not usual. And he's talking about how, his posh friends would say, you don't watch the news, don't look at the internet, you won't know about any of this, but it's happening, right? So he's taking a break, and he's as far away as you could, he has no real internet, no real this, no that, no TV. Right. He's on the boat. He's like me. He has to find a YouTube, a Wi-Fi place to do his thing. So anyway, but he talked quite nicely about what it is to take a break, and that no one takes. Everyone's so caught up in their ego, hurly-burly, can't slow down. Like Colonel Sanders and Grandpa Cockroach are examples. They can't. They talk about, they're Christians. I invite them. Every time they drive by, I say, hey, why don't you stop by? I have a nice thing on the burner. We can talk about the Bible. They've never stopped, right?
There's a lot of crystal meth in these folks.
Yes, Christians and crystal meth. Yep. And so, but that is the story.
You're not on air now, are you?
Of course I am.
You gotta warn me, dude. Come on.
Okay. So we're on air.
That's not nice, man. That's not.
Okay. So you want to hang up? You want to hang up?
No. I don't want to hang up. I'm admonishing you on air.
Okay.
Please let the people know.
Bad out. I'm slapping myself. bad.
Well,
Oh, ooh, ah.
I mean, that's a little.
Ee.
That's a
Are
little
you getting,
extra.
you're getting pleasure? Ooh, ah, ooh,
I
ow, ooh,
get
ooh,
absolutely
ow,
no pleasure
ow,
from
ow,
that.
ooh, ah, ooh, oh,
No,
stop it,
I
Magic
would,
Man,
I
stop
would
it.
only
Oh,
get pleasure
ooh,
if it
ah,
was
ooh, ah, ooh, 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 ooh,
if it
ah,
was
oh, ah,
unscheduled
ooh,
pain.
ooh, ah, ah. Anyway, Richard Volbs is
Are you okay?
Yeah, you were just admonishing me, and so I was slapping myself around.
Why?
Oh, it's like those priests who put the spike collar around their neck.
Because they're into heavy metal.
Ooh, no, they're being admonished for all the sins that they do, all those little children they take advantage of, and all the money they steal.
If that makes you feel that you've sufficiently.
No, it doesn't.
chastised
What it
yourself.
is, I was just being just like Mr. Lardass. I was being funny. Ha 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 ha. I was just being funny.
Okay, well, church does that to people, so I'm glad that you.
Yeah. Makes you funny.
You got that out of your system.
Yeah. So, what do you got to say?
Nothing. I'm just sitting back, taking a break. I want to hear more about the bald guy in the canal.
Well, his name is Richard Vobes. He's on YouTube. If you just put in Richard Vobes, Vobes, he's probably been doing this show for a couple of years. Maybe, I'm not quite how many years, but last May 8th, just a few days ago, was my 5th anniversary. So I bet you he's been doing it as long. But he's got.
Oh, you've been on the air for 5 years. Congratulations.
Yep. I have 1,780 shows.
How many subscribers do you have?
640.
That's good.
Yeah.
I only have 99 subscribers.
And I've had close to 1.5 million views.
That's great.
Yep. Not all at the same time, but over 5 years, that's not bad.
So you're looking at your analytics to
yeah, every now and then I do.
I didn't think you even knew about that feature on YouTube.
Oh yeah, well it shows up when you finish the show. And then it has a little arrow to look even more. It shows you how many people watched, how long they watched, that kind of stuff, right?
That's good.
So the show, my average show is between an hour and 2. Watch. See, the real interesting.
Has anyone ever asked you to be on their podcast?
Yeah, a bunch. Yeah.
Have you been on other than John? Have you been on any other podcasts?
Well, yeah. See, I don't fit into their technological motif. I have no idea when I'm going to be able to be on air, right? So
understood.
So I have been. A couple of them said, "Well, just call in and we'll see if we can fit you in there," and they did.
Right.
So.
Okay.
Yes.
I wish I knew what they were. I'd love to.
One was this guy who's all about the Tartarian civilization. Another guy is all about the.
So if I type in Tartar civilization Owl Bob, I'll find it.
Maybe. I have no idea. There's another guy who's really about. What are they called? Khazarian mob. And usually what happens, those two guys, what they did was they were doing something. Tammy tastes like what?
Tartar sauce.
Yeah, well, fish and tartar go really good.
She needs to get some Vagisil.
Yeah.
But she does have a beauty class of the most attractive hindquarters I've ever seen.
As you have said 1,000,000 times.
I will say it 1,000,000 more times, my friend.
Yep.
I talk about beauty wherever I see it. I still wish she'd give me a phone number, but
one of the guy who's watching my thing, the guy who's watching my thing just said
What's wrong,
that that my algorithm says I only have 504 subscribers. They keep taking them off. Did I tell you I once had a Jerry Lewis type telethon to see if we were getting up to they're at least allowing me to have 500. They didn't let me have 500, and
That's pretty good.
I was yeah, but 600 and whatever it was better.
Well,
And
that's bad.
and like
when
I
they
said, they
take
keep
away like
and it's as another friend had said that it's actually shows that I'm doing my job if they keep nibbling.
Well, yeah, I would think so because you're probably
So,
saying some things that the AI robot is offended by, and so it's gonna retaliate.
yeah.
So it is important to take a break from listening to the
Yes,
news
right.
and
And
these
appreciate.
things anyway.
I mean, that's why I live where I live, and that's also
Correct.
like this morning I woke up, and when Sister Holy Roller Skate murdered me in first grade, and she made me deaf in my left ear, and then the Maryknoll scholars
They saved
rebuilt me. My left ear is very interesting because it hears things way far away. And it also acts like a Doppler radar. I can hear things approaching and going away. And I can
So
tell
you're
which direction
almost
they're
like a
coming.
bat.
Yeah, like a bat.
Yeah.
But a little better, more discriminating. And so
More
they're
discrimination.
very singularly oriented towards the insect.
Don't discriminate. That's not good.
So
Give everybody a fair shake.
and my left eye does the same thing. I see certain frequencies that most people don't see.
Like Left Eye from the TLC group. She was a very attractive lady.
Yeah.
Left Eye Lopez was her name.
Anyway,
She
so
had
I live
a hot
out in
temper.
the Garden of Paradise, and I chose that. And I've
A
had it
hot
for
tamale.
18 years. And then the rich have started to show up, and our one county road is getting destroyed because it wasn't designed for tractor trailers and heavy traffic. And they're sticking up big 480 fiber optic lines. So the rich can have their wideband,
Right. So they
and
can have their satellite TV,
no satellite, no satellite,
fiber optic cable.
fiber optics, but they're stringing them all over the telephone lines. So
service.
it's unbelievable. It's disgusting because it is the poles were put in just for one wire
So it's
farmer
like
kind
a
of
mess
stuff.
of like spaghetti.
Yes, spaghetti on it, and it weighs way more than those poles
Than
can.
the
And
poles
they've
can handle.
already snapped about 6 of them. And
Well,
it's
you would have thought like they kind of would have thought of that.
yes,
before
you'd think they
put all
would have
this
thought
shit.
about it. Yes, but they didn't.
Well, I guess they did.
No.
Trial and error, I suppose. At the
It's
expense of other
money
people's lives.
talks, nobody walks.
Not very nice. Well, maybe they can find an inexpensive way to reinforce the.
Well, what's
poles
interesting,
that are
where the rich people are, where they're building all these gated communities,
correct.
their little farmer roads, they buried the cables, so there is no
Right.
wires.
So it's not only wires that are visible; it's aesthetically pleasing, and they benefit because
Yes,
they have
where
a lot of
and
money.
it's just like everything else. Where the poor people are, the environment
Well,
is
yeah.
sucks. It's
It's,
like where they put the oil wells.
not cared about
Yes.
at all. It's enough to keep the people alive so they can deliver the pizza to the rich people.
Whatever.
That's pretty much the point.
Yep. 49 and 49 seconds. I'm about to run out of battery, so I'm going to say goodbye to the kids.
Oh my!
Kids, say goodbye. And remember, the Dude Awake 42 at Gmail, Dude Awake 42 at Gmail. And
Slapping yourself is a bad thing.
get a hold of me there, Dude Awake 42 at
Giving
Gmail.
the kids a bad example.
Later.
Don't do that, man. Please.
Hey there.
For God's sake. Welcome back.
Welcome back.
Don't slap yourself on the head like that.
Well, buddy, I'm going to say so long. Catch you later. You still there, Fish? Yeah, it's still there. You there, girl?
Hello?
Hey there, sweetie.
Oh,
You're live on the show here.
no, picture.
Yep.
I was watching your the beginning of your show. How are you?
Oh, I'm good. I'm good. I've been thinking of you. I haven't had access to the phone signal, so I haven't called you in the last few days. But here I am at my breakfast spot and doing a show and putting it out there. So, what do you know about admiralty law? Since you're always putting things on boats.
Well, the U.S. has been under admiralty law for a long time. I can't remember how many years. That's
Pretty
why
much
our flags
since
are phrased in gold.
Right. That's why the gold leaf is the admiralty law one, and it's pretty much been at least from the beginning, if not the Civil War. Civil War is really when the European entities got a stranglehold on us and made us their bitch.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we are, their bitch. We buy their crap and we fight their wars.
Yep.
And anytime, they're making it in certain states, they're making it a terrorist law if you demonstrate against environmental projects and if you get out there on the street about anything like gender or race or religion. You're not supposed to. Georgia has a law. They're building a big cop facility in the middle of this little town that's going to just destroy the little town. And so the people are up in arms about it. That's the one where they've shot a few people.
You mean the squatters that were there trying to stop them from building it?
Yeah. See, you're carrying the trope. They were trying to bring public attention to what was going on there. The media and everybody else was just ignoring that.
One of the kids that shot or they pulled out of there, his daddy's got money forever. It's not like he's struggling.
Yeah, that's
he
what
wasn't even from Georgia.
That's what
it's
I'm saying.
It's actually a training facility to try to better train police officers.
Or create more of them. But it's being put in a place where the people who live there don't want it.
They'd be safer.
Well, crime isn't really motivated or manipulated by how many police you have. It's basically occurs when the citizen actually has a house to live in that they can afford, that has a job, that pays their bills, that has health care, that takes care of grandma, and that has an education that gives Susie and Joey a shot at having a life. That's when you don't have crime. When America did that between 1945 and 1965, at 20 years, America was doing pretty good. But then when everybody wanted that, not just white people, that's when things changed. And the crime that is being precipitated, and I would say whatever crime that you are experiencing in your community is manifested by the environment of what I just mentioned, the socioeconomic environment. Back in the day when there was nothing there except you and your families and and other people, and you went off and worked in factories, 10, 15, 20 miles away. Things were pretty good. Now they're like very hustle bustle.
Yeah, we don't have a lot of crime around here. Mostly just stolen vehicles or break-ins, and those are teenagers that are doing that because, you know. But in some of these bigger cities, they make it where, you know, the cops don't even care to arrest them because they're going to be free the same day. So I even go through the paperwork until we can find that happy medium again.
Well, I was kind of a policeman, right? I worked for the New York City Housing Authority, right? And the Housing Authority basically had these gigantic, high-rise, minimum security prisons, right? And they put everyone in them who were lower class, lower socioeconomic, lower educated, mostly colored, but not just black, but every other mostly colored. I mean, there were a lot of white people in there that were mostly colored, and that's why those housing authorities had their own police, because the powers that be didn't want the other police to be involved, because they wanted to have, by stacking and packing these people, like I said, minimum security jail, and surrounding them by highways, so they couldn't easily get out. It kept them there. They were still accessible as cheap labor, but they were there. And so whatever crime went on in there, and there was a lot of it, it was mostly done to themselves, right? Not outside. And so that's basically how the criminal justice system works. And that's what's happening here. And here, they're killing, because there's so few. There were only 19,000 when I first got here. Now there's 3,000. And that's the basic motif. They're just killing them off between OxyContin, fentanyl, and everyone's got a gun, and there's no work, so they're desperate. Yeah, it's kind of what it is. But let's go 180 degrees from that to tell me, what do you do to relax? Do you do? What do you do to enjoy your life?
Nothing really. I hardly ever relax. Occasionally, I take that back. Mowing the yard. I like to mow the yard. I can't wait till bush hogging season.
Bush hogging, yeah. Somebody was out there bush hogging this morning.
Yeah, I love to bush hog. It's just something therapeutic for me. I like to cut the grass. It gives you time to think and that kind of stuff. So I guess that would be relaxing. I did that yesterday.
Do you ever do anything with your sweetie? Like I was at the Dollar Tree, and they had a badminton set with gigantic badminton, rackets and gigantic birdie, right? So the thing will go really slow and not that far. And so a friend was over, so I put two lawn chairs on my front lawn, and we sat in the chairs and we hit the birdie to each other, and the game wasn't to see, to win by score, but to see how many rounds we could keep that birdie going back and forth.
Yeah, without dropping it.
And that was way fun.
We did that with balloons in the house. See how many, the living room full of us. See how many times we could hit the balloon before it dropped without moving. You know, you could use your feet, your arm, your head, whatever. Just couldn't let it touch the floor. But I have a new puppy, or of course I have 2 dogs now. One just turned 2, and one just turned 4 months old. So that's been keeping me busy.
Yeah, that keep you busy. Well, sweetie, I'm about to run out of juice here, and I just wanted to touch base and tell you that I was thinking of you, and I will get back to you. And you get out there and mow that lawn. Yeah. I do all my gardening like from around 7 until around 11, and then about 4 until about 8. That's my plan. Yeah. Okay. Well, okay, sweetie. I'll talk to you later. Well, that's two ends of the coin there. Okay, this time I am going to leave. Okay?